The Natural State of Sports podcast is back. Young Riley, my producer over there, we made it. We did not get canceled after one episode.
I'm proud of us.
I know. I'm proud of us. We weren't sure. It was a little shaky ground. But our news director reached out to us yesterday and said, hey, you guys did good. You can have another one. So that's a big win for us here at 5 News. Actually, should we change the 5 out of respect for Jaden Daniels? I feel like that's very inappropriate to do.
Yeah.
So if you guys just heard that silky smooth voice saying that we need to respect Jaden Daniels, you might notice that is not E. Hutch from yesterday's episode. This is one of our rotating guests we'll have every week, William Smith Moore, or I guess he prefers Will. I like William.
Will.
I think they're interchangeable.
No, it's just Will.
It's just Will?
Yeah.
All right, fine. Fair enough, William. Moving forward, we got a lot to cover today. We didn't get to a lot of things yesterday. I think I want to go back to Sunday to start the discussions today, talk about the closed scrimmage that Arkansas football had. We planned on getting to that yesterday, but DVH's contract extension through the 2031 season came up, and then the AP poll, which Arkansas was not in, but we learned that they will be playing 7 ranked teams this season. That's tied for the most in the country.
It's a tough schedule.
It always is, though, right? Like, if you're an Arkansas Razorback fan, I think the last several years, you've had at least 5 or 6 ranked teams on the schedule, and not particularly welly lined up. Is welly a word? I don't know, but that's what I'm saying.
It's the SEC. It's tough.
Because, I mean, like, right, the SEC schedule, the one thing I will say about this year's in particular is that they don't have to play back-to-back road games, I don't think. Or if they do, it's one time. Young Riley, if you want to pull that up real quick before we get into the scrimmage, just so we can take a quick peek at the schedule to see what Arkansas is getting ready for. But it turns out it's actually a pretty favorable schedule in terms of where they play, not necessarily who they play. So when you look at that, Will, what are your thoughts as Riley's pulling this up?
Well, first, I don't know if it's too soon, but I think if they had to play back-to-back ranked SEC opponents, we might hear from AD Yurichek about that one. But
Well, no, yeah. Yurichek, right? He jumped into the conversation because the big issue this year is the Utah Utes game playing at 9:15 in Utah and then right to Georgia. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Yeah,
you got
it's football. You get a whole week off. I can see like protecting your players if they had, I don't even know if college football does. It's like a Thursday or Friday game. I can maybe see that, but you got a whole week of rest and practice to recover from that Utah game going into that Georgia game.
Yeah, it's not like one of.
Just so we confirm, Arkansas alternates between home and away all year long.
But they do play back-to-back home games right here, Georgia at Arkansas and then Tulsa.
Yep.
So, yeah, no back-to-back road games. Thank you. So that ends up shaking out pretty favorably for them. But, all right, let's get back to what they're preparing for this schedule. The scrimmage on Sunday. Mm-hmm. No real news on the quarterback battle. It was closed to the media, so we didn't get to watch. We did hear that there were a lot of explosive plays, which is a positive for the Arkansas offense. There was a 95, 96-yard touchdown catch from Chris Marshall, the Boise State transfer. He also had a 34-yard one. But then the defense also had 8 sacks, Will. Not all of them were attributed to the first team, though. But when you hear those as somebody that's kind of on the peripheral of all this, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, just the way I like a team is you got to build that front seven. So sacks are really important just to pressure the quarterback, and then it can also, in a sense, disrupt the run game as well. But I think that's huge. Like I said, they're going to be playing some talented quarterbacks. There's going to be a couple athletic quarterbacks in there, and to be able to get that pressure is important. And explosive plays, that's big too, because I remember you mentioning that they're going to lean heavily on a screen game. So unfortunately, it was a close practice, but if we can get confirmation that those are off screens or if those are maybe off some play action or some fakes, that's you're going to need big plays, especially playing these teams. They're probably going to try to, get that lead and run the ball and grind it out. And, if you get those big explosive plays, you can hurry up and get back in the game. But it also tires your defense out, too, if you score too quick.
Well, I don't think that Arkansas is going to be top 10, top 25 in explosive plays this year. I know they have a lot of athletes, but I don't know if they have the most elite to where you're concerned with that every single drive. Ryan Silverfield, historically, especially with Tim Cramsey as the offensive coordinator, has been very much grind you down. And then it's kind of like when you play in NCAA, right? And you're kind of close up to the halftime, and then all of a sudden your team starts to pull away because the wear and tear.
Right.
That's kind of how I see this Arkansas team. They want to lean on the run and the screen game, the quick game. And then if you get explosive plays, they're going to come later, not necessarily early, but that's how Arkansas would pull away from a team, would be grind them down through the run.
And then speaking of that run game, running back, Sutton Smith.
The Memphis transfer, the senior, on the Doak Walker Award watch list for this year, which, look, I'm going to be honest, Will, I don't care. That's not disrespectful to Sutton Smith. I just don't care about watch lists. That's great. Cool. You're on a preseason watch list. We're going to be watching anyway. Why wait till midseason? The midseason watch list.
That's probably where it has more merit to it because it's just predictions. And like earlier, I'm pretty sure last year, wasn't Arch Manning the favorite or one of the favorites to be
for the Heisman?
And we saw how that played out.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah,
not great. But the preseason watch list, young Riley, if I can get you in, because you've been quiet today, and we got to get the boyish face and charm on camera here. What are your thoughts on the preseason watch list?
I'm frozen.
Young Riley's frozen. Technical issues on our second podcast. We'll try and get young Riley sorted out, but you can still hear that silky smooth voice. So I guess in 10 words or less, young Riley, what do you think of the preseason watch list?
Good for Sutton Smith. It's the second year in a row he's done it, so good for him. Obviously, whoever decides to put out those nominations, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the schools or the conference that puts out those nominations, and then they select a certain amount per conference or per school. It's a lot of a numbers game. That's what I'm pretty sure.
I don't know why we need the preseasons. I get the preseason poll because you got to have the numbers for the team. So you can have the ranked matchups. You can sell them on the schedule. You can sell them to the networks. But you just don't have a body of work. It's great. But every coach, every player will tell you what I did last year doesn't matter. Yeah. It's about this year. So we're just speculating at this point. And to your point, the player could easily just fall off a cliff and nobody cares anymore.
And especially in a situation like this where you're transferring, you might be playing for the same coach, but you're transferring, you got different, O-line, different receivers, different expectations. So it's kind of hard to just project someone to be a top 10 player at a position in the whole country, just off this is who he is, but like I said, it is pretty exciting just to have a Razorback on there. Any recognition is, good, especially in a positive light like this. And we hope he can take it.
Oh, so Sutton Smith, Braylon Russell, another running back in the room. Those guys are probably going to be the focal point of the offense in terms of what Arkansas wants to do. But obviously the focal point and the one that's been under the microscope for the entire offseason since before Ryan Silverfield got here, when we knew that Taylor Green was moving on, has been the quarterback battle. And it's a major annoyance for me to continue to talk about it because we're just not going to learn anything about who's going to start until the coaches want us to know. And that's probably not going to be until a few weeks out from when the season starts, I would imagine. But when you hear Coach Silverfield, Will, is again somebody that doesn't have to cover it every single day, and you have to hear the same coach rhetoric over and over and over again. When you hear KJ Jackson and AJ Hill, do you feel like one is kind of ahead of the other?
So from what I know, we had a couple of sound bites saying they want, the run game from the quarterback specifically to be strong, which plays into that, grinded out offense. And they'll add another element. And from what I've been hearing is that KJ Jackson has the advantage there and that AJ Hill needs to improve in those areas. So kind of outside looking in, reading, the writing on the wall, you would think KJ Jackson has the lead. And then you throw in the fact that he's been here. And I think when it comes to that locker room and other politics that may play a part, you kind of maybe want to give the guy who's been here a chance as opposed to bringing someone in and just kind of give it to him. Because like I said, it's tough being a coach. All those things get looked out, put under a microscope, and that could have a huge part. If you just bring AJ Hill over, we'll give KJ Jackson a chance, but you really the whole time wanted to start AJ Hill, your guy from, that you recruited. So it's tough, but I think KJ right now has a lead, and I don't think it would be a wrong decision to, give him that start to start the season.
I personally have always kind of felt it's KJ's job to lose, as opposed to AJ's to win, I guess, if that makes sense. I will say, though, the thing that kind of concerns me is when Tim Cramsey was speaking, he was saying the thing that KJ needs to work on is his accuracy. And that's paramount if you're a quarterback. Now, the other thing to kind of balance that out, because I'm not trying to lean people one way or the other, is that Cramsey said that AJ Hill needs to work on his decision making. Okay. Well, you got to have a good decision for the accuracy to come into play. So those are two. Does that concern you to hear that? Because those are 1A, 1B when it comes to quarterback problems.
Yeah, like I said, it's, again, we're going to keep saying it's the SEC. There's elite defenses. There's Texas. There's Georgia. And those are some of the top defenses, just as their reputation. And to hear a quarterback who has accuracy issues, now you're throwing in live action. You got those front sevens coming at you. You're trying to get on, on the run, zones and mismatches and things like that. And one pass goes too high, and that's a pick six, or that's just a pick. And decision making, AJ Hill, like I said, with that run game, if they do RPOs and things like that, that's huge, because one delay that could be a huge loss, tackle for loss, or just even a huge sack. And that is concerning. That those are the two biggest things you want from a quarterback.
2-minute warning.
So what you just heard was young Riley. You can't see him because he's still frozen on the camera. Oh, he's back. He's back. Look who's back again. 2-minute warning. That means we got 2 minutes to wrap this whole shindig up for the day. We'll be back tomorrow, don't you worry. But we'll get our final thoughts out, kind of in rapid fire mode here to try and put a bow on this nicely. Will, you brought up prior to this podcast, and he's going to roll his eyes here, Dan Orlovsky's rushing quarterback list in the NFL. But I want to transition that over here to college. You were mentioning the running ability of AJ Hill. How much do you think that should play a factor in who starts at quarterback here? Because KJ can run. Yeah. But should that factor in majorly?
Like I said, I think so. Like when you talk about what you've mentioned, how they want to run their offense and what they want to be about, and I think in college football more so than NFL, rushing is huge. It's another element that's harder to stop. Like I said, you can do those read options, pitches, and even triple options and the RPOs. And I think that again, they're going to play some tough defenses, and the more you can keep them guessing and the more weapons you have and more ways to attack them, the better. It's just as simple as that.
So then again, rapid fire here. Week 1, North Alabama, you think KJ Jackson comes out. Do you think there's still some rotation? Are they still trying to figure out who's starting at quarterback? Because that could be. It's essentially, you would hope, a glorified scrimmage week 1.
Yeah, so I think if they handle business, that game should be over by halftime. That's, being generous, and maybe give them like a little bit at third quarter, and then after that switch over to AJ Hill and give him a chance to have like almost a whole half. But then again, you're going to go right on the road to Utah. So this quarterback battle situation needs to be wrapped up pretty quick, because I think you need to start game planning for those more elite teams right away.
Which would be Utah. And speaking of wrapping things up, thank you, William. Well, I'll correct myself. We have got to wrap this one up for today. Will Smith Moore, Alex Stewart, young Riley at the producer booth. We'll be back. The Natural State of Sports podcast tomorrow at 6:45.